Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today it's not going to be a past year paper. I'm going to revise a bit about paper 2, your practical paper 2. Alright, so we will look into Word document, Access and PowerPoint. Alright, so let's begin. Here I'll be using the old files which we have done earlier. Alright, so just giving you some revision on few steps. Okay, when you're working on Word document, the first thing you need to do is you will have to save it in your work area, that is your folder, which will be provided, and make sure when you're saving it is saved as Word document. Okay, remember to save it as Word document. All right, and then next is creating the style. Now say for example you are asked to create a title style. Place the cursor before the title, and then from the style list choose create a style and type in the name of the style provided. Now say for example they are naming it as title. Type the name of the style and click on modify. Okay, this already exists. Let me try title new and choose modify. Now the next thing here you need to remember is when you are creating a style, there is modifying styles and creating styles. So when you are creating styles, you will have to make sure you set the style based on to normal. All right, remember this style based on must be set to normal, and this can be paragraph in character or set it to paragraph. All right, and then remember the font style, that is serif is supposed to be Times New Roman. All right, and sans serif is supposed to be Arial. All right, and then all these formatting, I guess you guys know about that. Okay, so that's about creating a style. Now say for example they have asked you to modify a style. So when you're modifying, click on the style where they have asked you to modify. Now say for example if it is the subhead, if it is a subheading style they have asked you to modify, you place the cursor on any one of the subheading and then right click on the style and modify. All right, so that's about modifying the style. All right, now let's move on to table. All right, now say for example they're asking you to create they're asking you to delete a column. Say for example they're asking you to delete the column named price. It is the entire column. If they're asking you to delete, you place the cursor on any one of the cells in that column and you right click, delete cells, delete entire column and click OK. So the entire column gets in. So what you do is you place the cursor in any one of the cell of that row, right click, delete cells, delete entire row. So the entire row gets. If you're placing the cursor on the cell which has the text bunks, right click, insert, insert rows above. So you get the the row in between. All right. And then if there are wrap text, now say for example your paper is like this. Okay, if there are wrap text, that is if the text are in more than one line, if they ask you to adjust the column in such a way that the text doesn't wrap, then you need to adjust each column by column so that the text on all the cells doesn't wrap to the next line. Okay, now the cell height and width. So in order to do this, you highlight the entire table, you right click, choose table properties and check the box here preferred width, type in the measurement given in the paper, and if it is for the row, you click on the row tab, specify the height mentioned here. If it is column, the same preferred width. Okay. All right, now next is indentation. Indentation is basically, it can be for paragraphs or it can be for the list. If they ask you to indent, okay, you highlight the list, right click, paragraph, and you have the option here, indentation left and right. So according to the question paper, you will type in the measurements here. Now say for example, they don't want any indentations to be applied. That is, it has to be towards the left of the column. So left, you set it to 0 and click OK, it moves. If they want 1.5 centimeter away from the left margin, you highlight, right click paragraph and set the left indentation to be 1.5 centimeter. It moves again. All right. Now the same thing applies for the text as well. Now let me show you this paragraph. Okay, let me show you this paragraph. So if they ask you to indent a paragraph, so you highlight that paragraph, right click, choose paragraph and indentation. Type in the measurement as mentioned in the paper. Okay, so it indents. Okay, all right. Now the next is columns. So if you're asked to create a column, so you highlight the column from where to where it is mentioned in the paper, go to layout, columns, more columns. Okay, it's always more columns because you have to set the spacing, and then you choose the number of columns mentioned in the paper again, and you are supposed to change only the spacing. Width has to be of equal width, so don't change that, only the spacing you change, and click OK. Okay, and then you click on the same icon. Those inverted P's goes away from your document. All right, next is widows and orphans. You have to make sure widows and orphans are not orphans. You highlight the entire document. Under Home tab, click on the paragraph settings here and click on line and page breaks and check the box here, widow and orphan control. And then when you click OK, it will automatically adjust in such a way that there are no widows and orphans. Okay, and then the next thing is to insert pictures. Wherever you are supposed to place the picture, place a cursor there and go to Insert tab, Pictures, choose Browse for your folder. From the folder, you will browse the picture and insert it. And if they ask you to rotate, click on the picture format, rotate accordingly. And the width and height is supposed to be changed here. Wrap text is this. Okay, so that's it about the Word document, I guess. All right, I hope that was clear. Now I'm moving on to the database. Okay, so I'm picking two different files. All right, so let's start from here. So always remember, when you're going to work on database, the first step is to save. Okay, it is not to import. The first step is not to import. So make sure you save your file first. So let me show you on a new blank database. So here is where you will type in your file name, right? And then click on this folder icon. Go to the folder that is your work area. Find for your work area, and then you will save your file there. All right. And then click on this create button. So here, after you enter, here is when you will import the file. So to import external data, some of the older versions, you will find the text file, the icon to import right away here. It is not this text file, okay? This is to export. Our questions are going to be to import. So find for the tiniest text file icon. If you don't find it, you click on this new data source, from file, text file, and browse for your file. All right. So let me show you an example here. Okay. No. Okay, let me choose a file here. Right, it gets attached here. Yeah. Now, here you have to set this first row to be the field names. What if you don't do that? So when you set the data type, you will not find the field names here. If you do not find the field names, you cancel, go back and set the first row to be the field names, come back here and set the data type. You're supposed to set the data type. Okay, let me share with you something here. All right, now if they ask you to set a data type to Boolean or logical, then the data type to be set is yes, no. Okay, so it's basically, let me show you here. Let me import a table. So now say for example, I'm importing a new file, and we browse for the file. Okay, if I'm importing this, okay, so here all these are done. Here is where you set the data type. So the data type, now say for example, yes, no must be set to food allergy. So you choose yes, no here. All right. The same way, if any of the data type is supposed to be numeric or number or integer with decimal place, then it's supposed to be set to double. All right, if any of the fields is supposed to be numeric, and then if it is supposed to be set to decimal place, then the data type is supposed to be double. All right, so you choose double from here. And then the same way here, if it is numeric and currency with the decimal place, then this is supposed to be set to currency. All right. So here you will have to set the data type to currency in these cases. All right. So that's one thing. And then choose the primary key. If the question paper asks you to create a new field called ID, then leave it to let access add primary key. If not, choose my own primary key, and from the list choose the field mentioned in the paper. If no primary key is given, so let it to be no primary key. Move on to the next and finish. Okay, close and open the table here. Okay, now here you see these were set to Boolean logical, but it doesn't display yes, no. So go to Home tab, View, Design View, and here you're supposed to set the format. Format you have to set to yes, no. So here once you finish, the next step is you have to set yes, no again in the format. Okay, and save. Now you check it is still check boxes. So go back to design view. Under lookup here, change the checkbox option to text box. Okay, now let's check. There we have the data there. All right, so that's how you change check boxes to text box. All right, now next is if the if the format is set, if the data type is set to double, then the format has to be fixed and then you set the decimal place. All right, so if any of the data type is set to double here, then you will have to set the format to be fixed and then you place the decimal place. The same way here, currency must be set to either euro or your desired currency, whichever currency you choose earlier, and then you will have to set it to the decimal place mentioned in the paper. Okay, that's about the data type. So remember, primary key has to be chosen carefully. Primary key is basically the records that cannot be repeated. All right. Okay, so that's about the formats and data types. All right, now next is if we are having more than one table. Now say for example, this paper, there we have two tables, two different tables. So this file is called as a relational database. So you will have to link the tables. So before you link the tables, you will have to close the files, database tools, add the tables, add both the tables, and link the fields from one field to another field according to the question paper, and check the box here, enforce referential integrity, and then save your file and close. That's about creating the relationship. Now next is to create a report. If the question paper asks you to create a report, the first thing you need to do is you have to create a query. Okay, so what you do is you create query wizard and choose the fields from the tables mentioned, and then modify the query design. You have the query design here. So here is where you will set the criteria. The criteria has to be set. Okay, let me tell you about some examples of criteria. Now say for example, the criteria in the paper says day is Monday. Okay, so here in this case, the term mentioned is. Whenever the term mentioned is, the criteria is going to be just the word after the term. So it is just Monday. All right, now say for example, the criteria is day includes Monday. So the term here is include. In this case, your criteria is going to be like within star Monday. Okay, the same thing applies. Today contains Monday. So it is again like within star Monday. All right. The next example is day begins with the word Monday. So here the term is begin. So when you have the term begin or start, then it is like Monday. It begins with Monday, and then after Monday, there is some other words. So there are some words, or there is some other word following Monday. So those words or that word is replaced with an asterisk, okay, with a star. The next example is day ends with the word Monday. So now here the term is ends. Okay, so it's going to be like star Monday. All right, and now say for example, the criteria is day is Sunday or Monday. So you have an or term there. So in this, as I told you earlier, it is, so it is just the word, whatever the words following is will be your criteria. So it is going to be Sunday or Monday. All right, and then the remaining are like basic criterias, like if it is greater than 20, say for example, it's going to be greater than 20. Or if it is greater than equal 20, then it is greater than equal 20 here. The same thing for less than. Less than is going to be less than is less than 20. Okay, if it is less than or equal to, it's going to be less than equal 20. All right, and then I say for example, yeah, less than or equal 20. Okay. Yeah. All right, now say for example, there is a criteria where you have to set select the records that are later than 2011 and also include 2011. So if it is 2011 and later, then your criteria would be greater than equal 2011. Okay, so before would be less than. All right, so these are the criterias you will have to consider. And then let me go back here. Now, if you are asked to add a new field, so that has to be added in a new column. All right, it has to be added in a new column. And the format, I'll show you the format here. It is the new field, a new field name followed by a colon and then calculation. Right, now say for example, if the calculation is supposed to be A plus B times C. Okay, if this is the calculation to be done, just imagine A, B, and C are the field names. So how the new field is calculated is the name of the new field name. This will be mentioned in the paper. As such, you will have to type in, followed by a colon, and then open a bracket here. And the field names, okay, remember the field names has to be within square bracket A plus within a bracket B, close the bracket, times within square bracket C. Okay, so this is how your calculation for the new field will look like. All right, this is the format. Just an example. So the field names has to be within the square brackets and there shouldn't be any space starting from the name of the field until the end of the calculation. And the calculation is basically the normal math calculation, calculations from left to right. All right, and then after you type in the calculate a new field to set, if at all they ask you to set the proper data type, you will have to go to property sheet and choose the format. If it is fixed or if it is fixed or currency data type, and then place the cursor on any empty cell, save your file and click run. You will have the criteria done. So remember, after you're done with the criteria, you are supposed to create the report, and the report has to be done from the query you created. And you will have to double click on the query. If not, you will be creating the report from the tables, which is wrong. So double click on the query and then create report wizard. Choose the fields that are mentioned in the question paper. And then all these you will choose according to the paper orientation, and then type in the title, modify the report's design and finish. There you have the report's design view. So here on the report, you are supposed to add in your candidate details on the page footer. For candidate details, it is a label AA. All right, so type in your candidate details, center number and candidate number. Your name, center number, candidate number. Remember, your candidate details must be on the page footer if they say it is supposed to be at the footer. So now I'll show you the print preview. You see here at the bottom of page you have 3 pages. The first page has your candidate details, second has, and the third page also have your candidate details. So which is correct? Now let me show you what happens if we place it on the report footer. All right, view, print preview. If you see here, the first page doesn't have your candidate details, 2 doesn't have, 3 doesn't have. Only on the 4th page you will find your candidate details, which is wrong. So in return, what happens is the printouts without your candidate details will not be marked. All right, might not be marked. So make sure you add the candidate details on the page footer, if it is mentioned to be on the footer, and if it is on the header, it's somewhere here. All right. If it is the footer, it must be on the page footer. Only then it appears on all the pages of the report. All right. Now moving on to the calculations for your report. Calculations has to be used with text box AB. So draw a text box, and it is on the report footer. You will have to add in your it is under report footer. You will have to add in your calculation. All right, so it's in the unbound box. You will type in the formula, and here is where you will type in the name of the field. Okay, now the formulas for your calculation. All right, that's another thing here to consider. Remember the question, it's based on the question. Now say for example, all right, now let's continue. Now say for example, they have asked you to calculate the total number of, okay, if you have the word find the total number of, then the calculation is equal sum within bracket the field name of what you are asked to find. Okay, now the next one is if they ask you to find the total, oh sorry, this is basically the total of, it is only total of, okay, whereas the next one is total number of, then it is equal count within bracket asterisk. Okay, so it will find the total number of records in the report and give you the answer. And then if it is to find the average, then it's equal AVG, the field name of what of the field name of which they have asked you to find the average. And then next, if they ask you to find the greatest or latest, it is equal max of the field name. And then if they ask you to find the smallest, they ask you to find the smallest or the earliest of the recorder, it's equal min, the maximum number and the minimum number of the field name. All right, so these are the formulas you might have to remember for your calculation of the report. Okay, I hope that was clear about the report. And then, okay, now let's continue. After this, the next one is you will check the print preview and print. Okay, so that's about the report. Now let's create a form. Now say for example, they're asking you to create a form from the table. So it's create form wizard, choose the fields, whatever the fields they have mentioned, click next, type in the, if they have mentioned the form title, type in the title, modify and finish. Okay, now if they ask you to take a screenshot with one record, you go back to form view, take a screenshot of this, and then to design you come back here. All right, and then if they ask you to add in any option buttons, you add some space over here at the detail section. And then for the option buttons, you click on the option group XYZ and then draw an option group here and then type in the labels. Now say for example, male and female are the records you want, and then click next, and you choose accordingly. If they ask you to choose any, if they have mentioned any default choices, then you choose from here. If they don't want anything, if they want it to be empty, then you choose no default. No, I don't want a default option. Okay, if nothing is mentioned, then either one of these can be chosen. And then if values are not mentioned, you can just leave the values as such. If not, you will have to change the values according to the paper. Move on to the next page and look for the paper, look for the question which states where you want the options to be saved to, that is to which field. So say for example, if they ask us to save it to the field gender, choose from the list and move on to the next. Choose, leave it to be option buttons. If not, you choose other buttons. Next, and then type in the name of the frame and then click finish. Now you see you get the option buttons here. Okay, and the label, it has to be, yeah, label, make sure it is aligned properly. Okay, and then save your file. Now if you check your report form view, you will have the new option group. Okay, if they ask you to add a new record using form, please do not delete it from here. Delete the first record and do not do that. You have to get an empty form. So at the bottom, you have 3 arrows. Clicking on the third arrow, it will give you an empty form. Okay, and then you can type in the name, first name, and then all the required data. And then you have, after you type in the name or required data, you have to save the file. Only then this data, the new record, will get added to your table. All right, so that's about the form. Okay, now let's see creating the labels. Okay, now say for example, again from, okay, when you're creating a label, you might have to create a query first. They might not need all the records. Okay, now say for example, I'm creating from these 14 records. Okay, so choose, create a query first. Query as usual, create a criteria, go to your design view and then type in the criteria and choose the fields that are only required. Click run, you get the query there. And then create labels after you're done with the criteria. Create label and choose the dimension they have mentioned in the paper. Click next, and then if there are any formattings to be done, you do it here. Next, and then here is where you choose the fields. Okay, according to the design provided in the paper. Okay, if it is on the next line, you press the enter key and add in the required field. Okay, postcode. So move on to the next page, and if there are any ascending descending order, you choose that field and type in, if there are any name, type in. If not, click on modify the label design, and this is how your label will look like. This is the design view of your label. If they ask you to add a label below all the each of the label, add as usual a label there and type in your candidate details, your name, center number, followed by your candidate number. And if they ask you to edit any one of the data, you highlight that particular data, you go to format, increase the font size, and then make it bold. Whatever they have asked you to do, you will do it. But for 2013 and 2023, highlight 2013 and title, change the color to black. All right, and if they ask you to create hyperlink with this shape, right click, link, again the same step. Okay, and yeah, once you're done, you will have to save and print your PowerPoint. Can I say, for example, if they're asking you to print all the slides and the layout, if they ask you to print 6 slides, change the layout to 6 slides. If it is 2 slides, 2 slides. If it is 4, choose the layout to be 4 slides. Okay, so I hope that was clear. This is all about paper 2. I think I have covered most of them. I hope you guys do your exams well. Good luck. See you in another video. Bye bye.